Live, local, and talking about the teams that matter to you. This is Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Brought to you by McMahon's Best One Tire and Auto Care.
Welcome in, Fort Wayne. DC Hendrix here filling in for Jim Shovlin this morning. Want to give a quick shout out to Jim Shovlin, who was not in this morning due to being in Florida. I'm sure he couldn't wait to get away from this weather. Jim Shovlin is down in Florida officiating a wedding, and so he was out this week. He will be back next week, and I'm filling in. We got a big show lined up for you today. We got Justin Kinney from OutsideTheHuddle.net to help recap semi-state high school football, who's going down to Lucas Oil Stadium next weekend to celebrate Thanksgiving by playing for a state championship. We got to talk high school football. We got to talk a little St. Francis Cougars, athletics, basketball, a little bit of soccer. We got a lot to talk about with Mike McCaffrey, the athletic director for the University of St. Francis. And, of course, we end the show with Shane Albahrani, the voice of your Fort Wayne Komets. So we still got a big show lined up. But before we get to any of that, I want to talk a little about what's going on this weekend. Big things on my mind, big sports weekend. Number one, Ohio State, Indiana. That is the number one thing on my mind coming into this weekend. And if you got any thoughts, of course, our text line is open at 260-447-8500. Text line is open 260-447-8500. As I'm the only one in the chair this morning, so relying on you guys to help move the show along. But I want to start with IU, Ohio State. First of all, who you got? This is the biggest game of the weekend, especially in our local area, but I think in college football, period. Big matchup. I got the Hoosiers. I think I said it a couple of weeks ago when Shovlin asked me about this Indiana Hoosiers team I think Signetti had just got the contract extension. I think it was next week. And he was, asking me how I thought about the Indiana Hoosiers. And he asked me even before that, when they faced Penn State, how legit is this team? Could they beat Ohio State? The Indiana Hoosiers. When Ohio State faced Penn State, I actually picked Penn State to win the game because I thought that Penn State was better than Ohio State. And I said, even when I said that, I thought the Hoosiers were a better team. So today we figure it out. Indiana, Ohio State, Curt Signetti era off to a great start. He's locked in for the future. A lot of people are still picking Ohio State, obviously, just going with the past. But I think we have seen a change and a transition in college football where we are seeing new teams. Once you add in that NIL money, things are a little bit more spread out. Things are a little bit more even, a little bit more parity. And you're seeing teams like Indiana Hoosiers moving on up. A lot of it, I give a little bit of credit to the quarterback, Curtis Wark, who I think is going to have a big day today. Senior gunslinger feud with this offense majority of the season, throwing for 2,400 yards, 21 touchdowns this season, and quite arguably has to at least be on the list for a Heisman. Now, obviously, he's not going to win it. There's a lot of people that are ahead of him on the Heisman list, but Curtis Wark, got to talk about him coming into this game today. Ohio State, Indiana. Who you got? 260-447-8500. But I also want to ask a question. Another thing that is on my mind going into this sports weekend, right? The Indianapolis Colts are in the midst of a playoff, at least playoff hopes. They're still in it. Believe it or not, the Indianapolis Colts are still within the playoffs. They still have a chance. And I think it's going to come down to Colts Broncos. So we'll see. Big game this weekend, Colts Lions, by the way. Probably picking the Lions, and the Lions, to me, look like the best team in football right now. So, unfortunately, I think the Colts will be losing today, and that'll put them at 5-7. But if you are the Colts right now, right, and Shane Steichen is your guy moving forward as the head coach, you look at the landscape of the quarterback. Now, Anthony Richardson had a decent week last week. I thought he, at the very least, took back the starting job with the Colts. At the very least, there's no way you go back to Joe Flacco after the way Richardson performed last week. But I'm going to say it. I think the Colts look at Daniel Jones. I mean, can't be too crazy. You got Shane Steichen, whose offense favors a quarterback that is a strong arm, powerful arm, and is mobile. That is literally what Daniel Jones is. If Shane Steichen is your guy moving forward, which, we don't even know that for sure, the way this season has gone. Daniel Jones, you look at him as a free agent right now. The Giants moved on, released him. and you look at the way he would fit with the Colts offense. And if you're not, like I said, Anthony Richardson had a decent week last week, but was it good enough and has he performed good enough to make you more comfortable to the fact that, yeah, he's our guy? And at the very least, Flacco is likely about done, right? I mean, Flacco's done. I thought he was on his last leg when he came to the Colts. So you bring in a guy like Daniel Jones who doesn't have to start, but he has a chance to. I feel a little bit more comfortable going with Daniel Jones as an alternative than Joe Flacco. I think you got a good chance right here. And Daniel Jones, obviously, right now, he's not going to want a whole lot of money because what negotiations, what bragging rights does he have right now to try to demand crazy money? Got 8 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, 2,000 passing yards, which, that's still top 20 in the league, by the way. So as bad as he appeared to be in New York, and we're talking about a guy that was a top 10 draft pick just a few years ago. Guy's young. Still tons of years left. There's a reason why he got the big money to begin with in New York, because he has the potential. He can throw. He can run. I think if you're the Colts, you look at Daniel Jones. Richardson's had a roller coaster season. He's looked decent at times. But if I'm a Colts fan, I'm not completely sure that Richardson is the answer. He still hasn't yet to prove that. Flacco has not fit with Steichen's offense at all. You want a big-time quarterback with a big arm that's mobile. Daniel Jones fits that mold. 100%. 260-447-8500. If you are the Colts, do you sign quarterback Daniel Jones in free agency? 260-447-8500. And as I mentioned, going back to the big game that I'm looking forward to this weekend, I got a busy weekend ahead of me as well. I actually was supposed to go to the Ohio State-Indiana game, but ended up having to sell my tickets, guys. Because I have another event, and Shovlin, if he was here, he would kill me for this, but I double booked. So I have a big, outside of this, I have a podcast where I cover like professional wrestling, and we have a wrestling event, a local wrestling event at the Fort Wrestling Facility here in Fort Wayne on Goshen Road, and I can't back out of that. I'm literally one of the people that is responsible for this event, so I had to sell my tickets. Ohio State, Indiana. Obviously, it wasn't very hard to sell them. People jumped all over that opportunity, but a little upset. I had to do it a couple of weeks ago, and got to be honest, a couple of weeks ago, I didn't think that both of these teams would be in this position, to be completely honest. I've been one of those people that, while Indiana's had a very successful season, I don't want to say I've been a hater, but I've been kind of like, well, we'll see how they do once they start, facing the, more of the Big Ten teams, and they keep proving myself wrong and the media wrong week in and week out. Ohio State, Indiana is the number one thing on my slate this weekend. But before we get to this break, we definitely got to mention at least high school football. Big night last night, folks. Big night for local teams. Obviously, we got to start with our Midwest Box Breaks high school football game of the week. What do you guys think of high school football? We have a variety of teams that are going to be playing and spending their Thanksgiving next weekend down in Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium. Let's play some Thanksgiving football, folks. Our Midwest Box Breaks high school football game of the week last night was crazy, and you can listen to the broadcast and highlights from the game last night. Bishop Lures and the Garrett Railroaders, that is on our podcast. Just search Fort Wayne High School Sports. You can go to 1380thefan.com, click our podcast tab, and check out the podcast. Both the full game and highlights and all the games that we run on air are on there to listen. And you can listen back to the game. And when you listen to Garrett leading 14-0 at halftime. Literally. Garrett Railroaders went into halftime, all the momentum on their side, 14-0. And I wish I had Kyle Lindsey on this morning, but I'm sure up celebrating late last night. But I just want to ask him, whoa, I got to know your halftime speech. Because Lures comes out, scores 28 unanswered points in the second half, and Bishop Lures finds themselves going to Lucas Oil Stadium once again. You got to give credit to Kyle Lindsey and that program at Bishop Lures going down once again. But they're not the only ones, folks. They're not the only ones going. You got to give a shout out. So we got 3 other area teams that are going to be going down to Lucas Oil. Now, Warsaw is going down. They had a big victory last night as well. East Noble Knights. It was the night of the Knights. East Noble going down to Lucas Oil. Adams Central Flying Jets. It was a big night, folks. We got 4 teams going down to Lucas Oil. So out of those 4 teams, Warsaw, East Noble, Bishop Luers, Adams Central. Which team do you give the best shot to win a state championship? Now, you got Bishop Luers, who moved up to a new class. And so, I mean, I think I got to go with Bishop Luers as my favorite. I mean, the way they came back last night, I mean, you scored 28 unanswered points against another undefeated team, which has become a trend for Bishop Luers this year. It was a big night of high school football, folks, and we got a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. Justin Kinney from OutsideTheHuddle.net is going to help us break it all down. We're going to recap last night. And, of course, we got to look ahead to what is coming next weekend down in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. So we got a lot to get to. Talking Sports. DC Hendrix filling in for Jim Shovlin this morning. The text line is open at 260-447-8500. Send in your thoughts, suggestions, everything you got for this big sports weekend. 260-447-8500. Quick break. We come back with Justin Kinney. Talk a little high school football. Let's talk sports on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
How do you thank the people that add so much to our lives? How do you celebrate a community that brings out the best in all of us? You give back. In 2022, McMahon's Best One gave more than $100,000 to local organizations that are always there to lift us up, to listen, to strengthen us, every one of us. Throughout the year, McMahon's Best One will continue to give back to the community that has given so much to us, bringing out the best in each other, together.
Fantasy football fans, listen up. Kick off your NFL Sunday mornings with the Fantasy Football Forecast. NFL Network host Amber Theo-Harris and Sports Illustrated senior fantasy analyst Michael Fabiano share with you which players to start and sit. Catch the biggest bargains and best sleepers, as well as the top fantasy matchups for any given Sunday. It's the NFL Fantasy Forecast on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM Sunday mornings at 10:30, or stream anywhere on your 1380 The Fan app.
Are you someone that wants to enjoy your sales career? Do you want to represent a product that you truly believe in and have a passion about? Well, since you're currently listening to 1380 The Fan, we can assume that you like this radio station. And if you can understand the importance of connecting local advertisers with a market of passionate listeners and the benefits that can bring, we'd like to talk to you. You might just be our next sales superstar. Hey, this is Brett Rump. You can come work with me at 1380 The Fan just simply by texting the word winner to 45364. That's winner to 45364. Have a great work-life balance. Enjoy time with your family and begin a new career thoroughly enjoying and having a passion for what you're selling. Text winner to 45364. Just take a moment to take the free talent assessment and discover if you have what it takes to be a star account executive, and you'll even get a free copy of your talent report. 1380 The Fan is proudly part of Federated Media, an equal opportunity employer that values.
At Prestige Heating and Air, your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, we put your comfort first. How confident are you that your furnace is ready? Hoping for the best? Contact Prestige. Whether you need a new system or a tune-up, our experienced team is ready to help. As your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, we pride ourselves on top-notch service and products. Visit PrestigeHeatandCooling.com. That's PrestigeHeatandCooling.com.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
If you're a veteran looking to file for your service-connected benefits through the Department of Veterans Affairs, don't go it alone. AmVet's highly trained service officers stand ready to walk you through the process at VA regional offices around the country, helping you to navigate the complex VA system free of charge. With new presumptions for Agent Orange exposure and other conditions, AmVets can offer you the advice you need to finally receive all your earned benefits. In 2009 alone, AmVets helped process more than 65,000 claims and appeals, securing more than $400 $110 million in benefits. To find your nearest AmVets service officer or to learn more, visit amvets.org.
Now back to Talkin' Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
And welcome back to Talkin' Sports. DC Hendrix filling in for Jim Shovlin this morning. Again, Jim Shovlin down in Florida, joining the Sunshine State. He is officiating a wedding for a family member. So no Jim Shovlin this week. You got DC Hendrix, who usually doesn't have a whole lot to say on the show, but it's good to be filling in for Jim Shovlin and letting him get a break and enjoy Sarasota, Florida. So shout out to Jim Shovlin. But we got a lot to talk about. We got high school football to get to. We got 4 teams going down, spending a Thanksgiving down in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium to play a little high school football for a state championship. And we will recap it all right now with the one and only, the go-to, the authority on high school football in Northeast Indiana, the one and only Mr. Justin Kinney. Justin, good morning.
DC Hendrix, morning, pal.
Good morning, sir. So let's go ahead and recap, obviously the big game that we're talking about, our Midwest Box Breaks high school football game of the week. We got to start there. Bishop Luers, Garrett Railroaders. Bishop Luers does it once again. Another undefeated team. Kind of recap, because I believe you were there last night. Kind of recap this Garrett Luers game for us from last night.
Yeah, I was, and it was very much a tale of two halves, DC. Last night, Garrett on the road brought pretty much the entire town of Garrett to the south side of Fort Wayne off Calhoun, and it was all Garrett in the first half. I mean, Bishop Luers drives down on the first drive of the game, and interception by Calder Hefty, 97-yard return for a touchdown. Garrett then scores another touchdown in the second quarter, 14-0, sitting pretty at the break. Bishop Luers, credit to Carson Bradley, the defensive coordinator, made some adjustments, got added pressure on Hefty, the quarterback, in the second half, and Garrett had no answer for Bishop Luers on the ground, 224 total yards on the ground. They averaged 6 yards per rush on the ground, 183 yards by Darius Williams. He was really the bastion of that running game. 3 touchdowns for him last night as well, and it very much shocked a lot of Garrett fans after the way that game started and the way the game ended. I think Garrett maybe had 2 first downs in the second half, maybe. Wow. It was complete domination by Bishop Luers after the break. They win their 18th semi-state championship and end that dream season of Garrett at the semi-state level. So Bishop Luers gets it done in what was a very, very fascinating game in the sense that one team dominated the first half and another team dominated the second.
Yeah, so looking ahead for Bishop Luers. So they got a big matchup. It'll be next Saturday at 3 p.m. Bishop Luers, who was 10-4, will go against Heritage Hills, who's only lost 1 game this year. Do you know anything about Heritage Hills? What does Luers have to look forward to next weekend?
Well, Heritage Hills dominated Batesville last night in that South semi-state in Class 3A, and it's a very sound program that's really been able to go through the regular season on the strength of its defense that's averaged just over a touchdown a game, and it was actually a difficult sectional for them. They knocked off Evansville Memorial in that sectional championship game. That was an undefeated Memorial team. And that was really when people started looking at Heritage Hills as a real threat in this class. They have not lost a single game to a team in Indiana this year. They lost to Christian Academy out of Kentucky in week 2. They dominated Batesville last night, 42-0. They dominated North Harrison the week before, 50-7. This is a very good team that Luers is going to have to contend with. But then at the same time, Heritage Hills is going to have to contend with the athletes of Bishop Luers. So should be a good matchup next Saturday afternoon down at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Justin Kinney from OutsideTheHuddle.net joining us here on Talkin Sports this morning. So we got to do something about that bear of yours, though, for Outside the Huddle, because I rely on that bear, Mr. Blitz, for
well, that's your first mistake.
Well, yeah, but I mean, look, that bear is right more often than not. So I rely on Mr. Blitz for predictions and think, all right, maybe I'm not crazy for thinking this, but the bear picked against the Adams Central Flying Jets, which I should have thought that was a mistake to begin with. But Adams Central does it once again. New class, same results. Adams Central Flying Jets are going down to Lucas Oil with the big victory last night as well.
They very much made the Bear really feel it last night, because it was really impressive what Adams Central was able to do. Because one thing we hadn't seen Adams Central have to do the last 3+ years, is face a really good private school power in the playoffs until they got to the finals and took on Indianapolis Lutheran, of which they've been beaten 3 straight times. So when you look at what Adams Central was able to do, get up 20-3 in that game last night, and very much typical Adams Central. Several 4th down and shorts converted. They shut down Andrean on some pivotal plays. I think 4th down was really the story of the game last night. Adams Central was able to convert theirs, and Andrean wasn't. Andrean also with some costly turnovers. So for Adams Central, it was a double dip last night, because not only do they go to Andrean and win a very impressive victory to get to state for the 4th straight year, they don't have to face Indianapolis Lutheran next week, DC. Mm-hmm. They will instead take on Linton, who upset Indianapolis Lutheran last night. So Adams Central bumps up a class, and they'll be playing for a 2A state title next Friday morning, and they won't have to take on Indianapolis Lutheran. It'll be the Flying Jets and Linton at 11 o'clock down in Indy.
Wow. Absolutely crazy. But speaking of teams that I think had a big night, and I would call this an upset. I mean, Maryville at Warsaw, and Warsaw pulls the victory. I mean, Drew Sullivan has got to be the talk of the town for Warsaw for sure. Had a big night on the ground for Warsaw, and they beat Maryville, who I thought were pretty much a sure-in for the state championship. But instead, we got Warsaw going down to Lucas Oil.
And how about the Tigers? They, in the course of making it to Lucas Oil Stadium, this playoff run, they have beaten number 1 Concord. They beat number 3 Lafayette Jeff. And then last night they beat number 2 Maryville to get to the state championship game. And who will they play on Saturday? Number 4 Decatur Central. So why not? Let's just knock off the top 4 teams in Class 5A for Warsaw. Last night, you mentioned it, with Drew Sullivan had another huge game last night on the ground, 169 yards and a couple touchdowns on 33 rushes. Wow. And the big story of this game last night, DC, Maryville, 4 turnovers really cost them. Warsaw not only protected the ball, 0 turnovers, but 0 penalties through the entire game for the Tigers. And it was a very, very impressive performance out of Warsaw. Not only did they reach their first ever semi-state game, they now will head to the state championship for the first time ever. So it's almost, we have Bishop Luers on one end of the spectrum, which is a state-tying 18th appearance in the state championship. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have Warsaw going there for the first time.
The text line is open at 260-447-8500. That's 260-447-8500. If you want to get any thoughts in on high school football, college football, we got Indiana, Ohio State, and, of course, my craziness talking Daniel Jones going to the Colts at the beginning of the show as well. 260-447-8500. But sticking with high school football, we got another team that's going down, another team that admittedly, look, I'll admit when I'm wrong, I counted out as well. East Noble, they had a great season, but I thought Mishawaka, I thought they were going to be a tough task, which they were. But East Noble, they edged them out. 18-13 victory. East Noble does it once again. If you would have told me, Justin, that East Noble will beat Mishawaka ahead of time, and you told me that Riley Biddle would only have 2 catches or two passes.
Yeah, right.
Just
I mean, only 2 pass completions for Riley Biddle. Only had to throw it 4 times last night, which was really a question going into that game last night.
Yeah.
Because he felt like if Mishawaka could take away the running a game of East Noble or severely limit and make Riley Biddle, who is a talented quarterback, have to go to the air, then maybe it was advantage Mishawaka. But the Cavemen couldn't do it. They gave up 244 yards rushing on the ground to East Noble, an average of 5.8 yards per touch. Dylan Krell, again, 24 attempts, 155 yards and a touchdown. Biddle did score 2 touchdowns on the ground. And this was really a gutsy win for East Noble. They trailed late in this game. East Noble had to score a go-ahead touchdown in the 4th quarter to pull this one out. And it felt like maybe this was the time that it was going to be up for East Noble, but we've kind of counted them out a couple times already this season, and they proved us wrong, and they did it again last night. And now East Noble heads back to the state championship game. They'll take on for next week in that Class 4A state championship game will take on New Palestine. And that's a really, really, really good New Palestine team. But we'll worry about that later this week. East Noble now can bask in the fact that it's heading back to Indianapolis. And just an unprecedented night last night, DC. 4 area teams advancing. You had Garrett losing to Bishop Luers. You had South Adams falling hard to North Judson, but that was a great run by South Adams to reach the semi-state. But we have had 3 area teams several times reach the state championship, never 4, and it's going to be a very heavily represented state championship weekend next weekend for Northeast Indiana. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, and while I'm very excited for those 4 teams, I definitely would be remiss to mention South Adams Starfires did fall last night in semi-state to the number 1 ranked team, by the way. North Judson just routed South Adams 46-0, but you got to pull your hats off. South Adams battled after starting, I think, 3-5 to start the season and, still making it to semi-state. Got to give some love to Coach Moser and the Starfires.
They did a tremendous job, and it was demoralizing last night for them. North Judson came into this game with 3 players that were above 1,000 yards rushing. So you know what they do. But stopping it is a different story, and they couldn't. Cole Wilcox, 247 yards, 3 touchdowns for North Judson, who rushed for 371 yards total. Did not complete a pass last night, wow. North Judson. They were 0 for 2. Didn't need it. And then conversely, South Adams has been able to reach this point in recent weeks because they were able to really get the ball downfield in the vertical passing game. They were to an extent last night, but Titus Lehman, 11 of 33, 110 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Just ran up against a team that has just dominated 1A. And if you have to feel good about the loss, if you're not a South Adams fan, look at North Judson. For 3 straight years, they ran up against Adams Central in the North Semi-State in Class 1A, and 3 straight years they lost. Now North Judson goes to the state championship for the first time in 4 years in terms of attempts, and will represent themselves at the state championship game after not having to deal with Adams Central this year, who got bumped to 2A. So congratulations to North Judson. Also congratulations to the Starfires. Just a great season for them. Nobody expected them to get all the way to semi-state, but they can celebrate sectional and regional titles here in 2024.
Yeah, Justin, and as we look forward to next weekend, so I'm putting you on the spot. Got Warsaw, East Noble, Adams Central, Bishop Luers. Who has the best shot to win the state championship?
I really look at 2A and 3A as the best chances. Adams Central avoids their nemesis in Indianapolis Lutheran, so you have to feel good about the Flying Jets' chances. I think Bishop Luers matches up well with Heritage Hills just because of the added dynamic of their athleticism, and now they'll get to play on turf, and that will really greaten the opportunity for Bishop Luers to take advantage of its skill and talent. And Warsaw, I think, with Decatur Central, the way Warsaw's playing, beaten 1-2-3, how do you bet against them? I think the only game you look at and say maybe a decided underdog for an area team is East Noble taking on New Pal. New Palestine is no joke, undefeated, but we continue for them, and it hasn't. And it's been very impressive. Their only loss coming in the regular season to Snyder way back in week 2. They went to Leo and shut them out in sectional. They followed that up with a rout of Bishop DeWanger on the road, took out upstart Huntington North, and then that gutsy win last night with a come-from-behind win in the fourth quarter at Mishawaka. So if any team can give New Pal a game, it's East Noble. But, man, that is a dominant Dragons team down on the Ohio River. So that will be a game that I will feel that East Noble is a considerable underdog. But the other 3, you got to feel good heading into next weekend.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys can get it all at OutsideTheHuddle.net. I'm sure they will have all the coverage on that website, as they always do. And speaking of OutsideTheHuddle.net, you guys do a great job on that website of transitioning, too. So, obviously, as it gets later into the football season, you guys have already turned the page a little bit in some aspect to high school basketball. You got previews all knocked out. You're already covering, top girls in the area, top boys in the area. So I definitely wanted to give you some time to mention all the basketball coverage as well.
Yeah, DC, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, this is a crazy time of the year because you're still in the midst of football playoffs, and girls basketball's already started. Boys basketball will start next week with some games before Thanksgiving. So we have a lot of girls stuff that has come out before the season started. You can track that at OutsideTheHuddle.com in the middle of our countdown of our first 5 players, our top 5 players in the area, top 5 teams in the area, conference previews, everything that will get you ready for the start of the boys basketball season next week. If you're not still paying attention to now 4 teams from the area playing in the state championship next week. So it's going to be a busy Thanksgiving week at Outside the Huddle with both boys basketball and football next week.
Nobody does it better. The authority in high school football and basketball, OutsideTheHuddle.net. But Justin Kinney joining us here this morning. Definitely want to thank you for coming on this morning and every Saturday morning, recapping high school football for us. You do a great job, and we definitely appreciate you, Justin. Enjoy your weekend.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you so much. That's Justin Kinney from OutsideTheHuddle.net joining us, talking high school football. 4 area teams going down to Lucas Oil to play for a state championship. Shout out to all those local teams. We got a text at 260-447-8500. Says, DC sounded good this morning. Well, you lied there, so you just lost all credibility on the rest of this text. Just kidding. Says, congrats to our area high school football teams and go Cougs. Reverend Jim. Shout out. The text line's open at 260-447-8500. Get your thoughts in. We got to talk St. Francis athletics, and we also got to talk Comet hockey. But the text line is open, 260-447-8500. Let's get a break. We'll be right back. It's Talkin Sports. DC Hendrix filling in for Jim Shovlin on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Attention homeowners, are you tired of paying too much on your energy bills? Over 90% of homes likely need more insulation. It's time you discovered Koala Insulation, a premier insulation contractor. Koala's team can give you a free insulation evaluation. There's no obligation. It's one of the best home improvement returns on investments you can make. And then you can start saving money for years to come. So be sure to book your appointment for a free insulation evaluation online at koalainsulation.com.
We know to contact Indiana 811 at least 2 working days before every dig. But did you know spraying a white line around your digging area means utility flags will be placed only in that area? Fewer flags in the yard? Easier mowing? Everybody wins.
Except for my kid. I don't want to mow the yard.
Contact Indiana 811 and white line before every project. It's the only way to dig. Learn more at 811.safedigindiana.com. Sponsored by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission and aired by this station.
I'm Dwight Freeney, and my friend Eli is alive today thanks to someone who said yes to organ donation. When Eli was just 12 years old, he received a liver transplant that saved his life because someone just like you said yes to being an organ donor. His story and many others like his are why I have teamed up with Indiana Donor Network and Donate Life Indiana to help end the wait for life-saving organs. You can help. Say yes to being an organ donor next time you are at the BMV.
This Black Friday at Toohey's Winery, the magic starts with bottles as low as $8. Many of our best sellers will be at this year's lowest prices during the Black Friday sale, and you can only get them in-store November 29th through December 2nd. Visit Toohey's social media for details. Toohey's Winery. Sip the unexpected. Today, young adults face big questions about their future. How will you make your mark? Do you want to be part of something bigger than yourself? Are you ready to learn new skills and make new friendships? Perhaps you have a dream that you're ready to make real. So, how will you make a mark with your future? As you embark on a journey toward finding these answers, the military can serve as a resource for providing help, information, and opportunities. A public service message from the Department of Defense. To learn more, visit todaysmilitary.com.
We tend not to think about right now, but right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. When you give to the V Foundation, 100% of your donation goes directly to game-changing cancer research. Victory over cancer is there for the taking. By you. Donate at V.org. Because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
The YMCA is just a starting line. For the true self blooms only when we find our purpose, what makes us tick below the surface. Y is the before work hustle, an after school home, a section of my block, a corner to call my own. With my Y, I stand strong, seen and supported all along. It's a million faces in a mirror, and everyone belongs. Find your why. Join today at ymca.org for a better us.
Now back to Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
I had to let that one play a little bit. Little Pearl Jam coming back from the break. What you know what that means. We got the one and only Mr. Mike McCaffrey, athletic director of the University of St. Francis, joining us this morning on Talkin Sports. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, DC. Love a little game day Pearl Jam to get it started.
That's right. And my favorite Pearl Jam song of all time. Probably the most overplayed, too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sheesh.
When it's one of only two that you make a music video for back when they had videos, you know it's going to be overplayed.
True. What a lost art, music videos. Don't see those anymore. So we got a lot to talk about here with St. Francis. As you know, if everybody goes to this website, by the way, the first thing you're going to see St. Francis football champs gear. I mean, let's talk some St. Francis football to start. A big week for St. Francis last week in football.
Yeah. I mean, you go back the last couple weeks have been important for us. In the last home game when we beat St. Xavier, that combined with a USF Illinois win on the same day, clinched our playoff spot. And then last week we went out to Olivet to try to win the division outright. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So we ended up having to share the division with Marion. So we're both division champs, but we ended up getting the automatic bid because we fortunately took care of business when we beat Marion down there early in the season. So we knew we were in going into last week. I think, unfortunately, when you've got a team full of veterans that have never been in the postseason, combined with a lot of young guys, sometimes when you hear things from the media like, hey, this week doesn't really matter, does it? And I think it kind of gets in their head a little bit. Maybe we didn't really know how to handle that last week and take care of business. So not the worst thing in the world to get humbled before you go into a playoff game. So we're down here in Wichita, Kansas right now, getting ready to jump on the bus at about 50 miles south to Winfield, Kansas, to take on Southwestern College. But we left Thursday morning and stopped in Kansas City the night before, got here to Wichita last night. Now we're ready to roll and go take care of business on the road and hopefully keep this thing going.
Yeah, so how would you kind of recap this year? So a lot of people, in case you guys haven't, been able to check out St. Francis football. Now, I don't know if you guys even mentioned last week about Nate Newcomer winning I think he won Defensive Player of the Week. I don't even think that was even mentioned last week. But how would you recap this football season? I mean, there's been guys that have stood out, and you guys still finished the season in the top 25. How would you recap the football season?
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty confident coming into the season, but you never know. We had a lot of guys coming back and added some young guys and a few transfers to it, and we felt pretty good. And then it was kind of a new one for us being on the other side of the MSFA in the Midwest Division for the first time. So we're not on the side with Indiana Wesleyan and Taylor and them like we normally are. So it was a little different, kind of not sure how it was going to play out, but I think we did what we had to do in those 5 weeks that we had to, and we got the wins over Marion and St. Francis, Illinois, and St. X, and put ourselves in this position here. So, I mean, obviously a successful season. It's been 5 years since we've been in the playoffs, so that's a fun thing to be back and to get these guys some experience and to have them leading this charge. And I know these seniors are excited for this opportunity because they haven't been here before. And so it's kind of we almost brought the program back around, so to speak, is what this year's kind of felt like. And Coach D still doing his thing, and Coach Sherman and Jensen handling the coordinating side. And we've had contributions all over. You get Josh Kolka, who came in as a grad transfer and took the job in week 2 and ran with it and had an amazing year. Probably could have been Offensive Player of the Year in the conference, but I don't know if he's going to get it or not. They announced that Monday. But, yeah, you mentioned Nate Newcomer. Unfortunately, he got another injury last week, so he's not going to be with us today. So we're going to slide Tamara Springfield over to safety and slide E.J. Hunter into corner and lock up that secondary. But it's going to be fun. You never know what you're going to get when you're down here in KCAC country. These teams are we never know how good they are. You don't watch them a lot. They go 9-1, but I don't know that they'd be 9-1 in the MSFA. So we feel pretty good that we're battle-tested when we get to this time of year. So we're excited.
Yeah, and speaking about being excited, you got to be excited about this men's basketball team, right? I mean, starting off, they're rolling. 8-1, a big victory over Taylor, a close one too. But I know all people were talking about on social media was a huge 3 towards the end of the game. Zane Burke hits a big 3 to extend the lead late in the game. Let's talk about this men's basketball team. A big victory over Taylor last week.
Yeah, and not the first time this year Zane Burke has hit a big three for us at the end of the game. He did it against IU East earlier and in another close win, and he's a great leader for us. I mean, he's our senior captain, and he's been our heartbeat here for the last few years, and I know he's been trying to get this team back into the NAIA national tournament, and that's his goal. And right now we like our chances, but we got to go through the Crossroads League still. We'll have a big battle with Huntington here on December 4th back at home. Back at home against Huntington, and they're playing pretty lights out right now and knocked out Indiana Wesleyan. But yeah, Luke Almondovar and Isaiah Malone and Zane Burke and Brandon Northern, and I feel really good about this group of guys. They're really playing together. Joe Reedy, if we can keep him healthy for the first time in his career here, he's a tough kid that just gets all the gritty work done. And I know Coach Lacrosse likes this group, and so far they've been gelling and they've been taking care of business.
Yeah, we're going to have to get him on air as well, talk about that men's basketball team. But speaking of basketball, while the men have been playing great, the women have been playing even better. They haven't even lost a game yet. A big victory also over Taylor, but in much more dominant fashion. The women beat Taylor last week 88-57, and all kind of contributions across the board. But Gregory finished with the career-high 31 points. What about this women's basketball team rolling and still unbeaten?
They're incredible, man. I got to tell you, Coach Henney has put together a squad over there, and it's he's one of the most relentless recruiters I've ever been around, and he's going to go get kids that can take us to the next level. When he took this program over, he said it'll be a year or two, but let him get a couple classes in here, and I think Callie Gregory is great proof of that. I mean, comes in as a true freshman from Crestview, Ohio, and was the conference player of the year over there as a senior, and so we knew she was good coming out of high school, but you never know how it's going to translate. But she's done nothing but take that torch and running with it right now as a freshman for us. She goes for 31 against Taylor, and she scored 20 a few times already. And if we can get her and Chloe McKnight and Cassidy Crawford all on the same page for any game, then we're going to be tough to beat. They are talented, and they've got some size inside this year, and we can shoot it on the outside. And Coach Henney's just great at drawing up schemes to try to take out our conference opponents. So again, you get to the gauntlet of the Crossroads League, and never know what's going to happen, but we feel pretty darn good about our chances.
Basketball team's doing great, both on the men's and women's side. I wanted to mention this too. Wanted to make sure I got this in there. So I think it was it yesterday you had the cross country national championship? How did everything go?
Yeah, so we had Tori and Alvin were running in the national championships yesterday over in Columbia, Missouri. Didn't get the All-American status that we wanted. I think Alvin finished 44th. Tori, unfortunately, with about I think it was 1K left in the race. I think she was in 10th or 11th. She ended up stepping in a hole in a cross-country meet, which is not fun, and she dropped about 50 spots. So it was a tough one for her. She's going to be back. I mean, she's only a sophomore, so she's got a lot of chances ahead of her. But I hated it for her that's kind of how it went for her this year, because she's been doing so well this year and really had a shot to bring home another All-American for us. But I'm not a cross-country runner. I only run when I have to, but I guess you step in a hole with 1K left, and it's going to throw you back a little bit and let people go by you, and that's unfortunately what happened for her.
I'm with you. If you see me these days, you would know the only place I'm running to is that refrigerator. So I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. But did I miss anything? I mean, I know it's been a big week. I've been trying to catch up on everything. Was there anything else with St. Francis Athletics this past week?
I mean, no, we're just rocking and rolling. We're going to get ready to go into indoor season now, so a lot of track and field getting up and running in the next few weeks. But basketball will be taking a nice break, and then we're going to get ready to head into Christmas going, and then we'll hand it off to basketball and get them going. But no, right now we're focused on this task at hand here at noon, 1 o'clock Fort Wayne time for our game today, and looking forward to giving these guys an opportunity in the postseason that we haven't had in a while, and hoping they can take advantage of it.
That's right. University of St. Francis Athletic Director Mike McCaffrey joining us this morning in his weekly Cougar Chat. Mike, thanks so much for coming on this morning. Hopefully I did well, and Jim will be back next week to talk to you. Thanks for coming on.
You're the man, DC. I appreciate you, brother. Take care.
Thanks, you too, Mike. Mike McCaffrey joining us here on Talkin Sports this morning. DC Hendrix filling in for Jim Shovlin, who's down in Florida once again officiating a wedding and still had time to chime in on the text line this morning. Shout out to Jim Shovlin. Also got a text real quick before we get to break. I don't know if you're being serious or just joking, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. They asked me about my wrestling event that's going on today. So we have an indie wrestling show. It's like local, regional, indie professional wrestlers. And we got an event at the Fort Wrestling Facility. It starts at 6 today on Goshen Road, if you want to check it out. A few tickets still left, so it's a good time. We got actually a couple people that are pretty close to being in WWE and actually have done a lot of wrestling around regional and national. So big show today. So there's your answer if you were serious. If not, I said it anyway. We got a quick break. We come back. Shane Albahrani, the voice of the Fort Wayne Komets, to talk a little Komet hockey. It's Talkin Sports on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Have you looked at your auto or homeowner's insurance rate lately? Think it's about time to get a competitive quote? Call the Wise Insurance Agency today at 260-747-5373. Located at 7410 Bluffton Road, Wise Insurance is a local company that's been in business for 25 years. Being an independent agent working with over 15 A-plus rated carriers allows Coach Ron Wise to assess your needs and determine the best option for you to give you maximum coverage with the most affordable premiums. The Wise Insurance Agency also offers motorcycle, RV, and watercraft insurance, as well as renter's insurance, flood, and umbrella policies. Multi-policy discounts are also available, and make sure to ask Ron about the good student discount up to 20%. Let Coach Wise show you the fundamentals of getting the right insurance. Don't put it off. Contact Coach Ron and the Wise Insurance Agency team today at 260-747-5373 or find them online at thewiseinsuranceagency.com.
Take 1380 The Fan with you wherever you go with the free 1380 The Fan app. Listen to our shows including Dan Patrick, Colin Cowherd, and The Sports Rush with Brett Rump. Plus, you can go to our social media pages and download the latest episodes of our podcast on demand and listen to live events and alternate broadcasts too. Download the free 1380 The Fan app for your smartphone today. Only on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
If your loved one has stopped seeing friends because hearing loss prevents the use of the telephone, please help them by visiting RelayIndiana.com. RelayIndiana.com provides captioned telephones that allow the hard of hearing to have phone conversations through voice recognition technology. The other person's words appear on an easy-to-read screen. Help your loved one stay in touch with their family and friends by getting them the CapTel captioned telephone from Relay Indiana. Learn more at RelayIndiana.com.
Running a business is challenging enough without the added stress of uncertain insurance coverage. That's where Hoopy Insurance Services, in partnership with Indiana Farmers Insurance, can help. We take the time to understand the specific needs of your business, allowing us to tailor a coverage plan that's just right for you. Contact us today at 260-486-7488 or visit us online at hupe-insurance.com. Your business deserves more than just insurance. It deserves peace of mind.
Decisions determine results. So which path do I want to take? Help people in need or stand on the sidelines watching? Worry about how to pay for school or have my education paid for? Push myself and learn new skills or stay the same? My decision is to serve part-time with the Army National Guard, and my results will be life-changing. What will you decide? Go to NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service.
Sponsored by the Indiana Army National Guard.
Animals are languishing in U.S. shelters, especially dogs who look a certain way. These dogs are just as deserving of loving homes as any type of dog, which is why we decided to help them get out of kennels. Join the thousands of supporters of our mission to help us expand our national reach and proudly place more dogs from kennels into their forever homes. To learn more about our mission, please visit us at kenneltocouch.org.
Donate to the American Red Cross and help your fellow Americans hit hard by the effects of Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. Your support provides shelter, food, and hope to those in need. Text RELIEF to 45364.
Now back to Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Had to let that one play a little bit. Little Motley Crue waking me up this morning, nothing better. And nothing better to get me ready for some Komets. We got to talk a little Komet hockey. Shane Albahrani, the voice of the Fort Wayne Komets, is joining us here on Talkin Sports this morning. Shane, good morning.
Hey, DC, how you doing?
I'm doing real good. I'm getting ready to talk hockey, so that tells you how my morning's going. I know.
Hey, man, I'm turning you into a convert, man.
Hey,
you're going to be a hockey guy one day. It's my goal.
Oh, I definitely am when it comes to playoff time in the NHL playoffs, for sure. It's the best playoffs. But the Komets, we all definitely support. I'm always a Komets fan. So
that's right.
Definitely looking forward to talking a little Komet hockey. But before we get to that, something near and dear to my heart happened last night with the Fort Wayne Komets being involved. And it was a tribute in remembrance for Mr. Michael Franke, a Christmas lighting. Were you able to make it and kind of talk about that for the Komets?
Yeah, it's a great Michael. His favorite holiday was Christmas. He went all out for his family and for us at the Komet office and even the fans. He was such a fan of the holiday, and to have that last night dedicated to Michael, of course, is something special. We lost Michael just about a year ago. It's hard to believe that it's been that long, but Michael was such a champion, obviously, of Fort Wayne, and of course the Fort Wayne Komets. Headed the organization for 33 years, and it still stings us every day when we walk into the building, we walk to the Coliseum, and not to see Michael. But it's good to see that others in the community are just as passionate about Michael as we were, and able to do things like this to make sure he's never forgotten.
Absolutely. Shane Albahrani, the voice of the Fort Wayne Komets, joining us here on Talkin Sports this morning. If you guys have any thoughts, text line is open at 260-447-8500. Now, I feel like this week's talk about the Komets is a lot more positive than it's been because the Komets are rolling.
We're Komets are 9-3. You can't ask for a better start. And tonight we're playing a Wheeling team. The only two teams that have beaten the Komets have been Kalamazoo and Wheeling. So this Wheeling team, they're in first place now in the North Division. They're in a different division. They moved out of the Central because Bloomington came in the league, so that pushed Wheeling to another division. So we don't have to worry about them as far as the divisional game goes, but they are a good team. We played them in a morning game a couple of weeks ago in Wheeling, and not sure what to expect out of them, and they were very good. I mean, they beat the Komets. The Komets actually played a flawless game that morning, just they didn't score enough goals, but because they had a hot goaltender, and that's something the Komets have had to deal with all season long. Really, really good goaltending. So tonight's game, it's going to be good. The Komets are 9-3. Wheeling is 8-3-1. So it's going to be a dandy hockey game tonight at the Coliseum. So if you don't have your tickets, get to the Coliseum and get to the game tonight at 7:30.
Yeah, blackout night too.
Yeah, that's right. Komets are wearing blackout jerseys. They're really, really cool. They've been a real big fan favorite. They've gone over very well. So, yeah, it's our second blackout night of the season, and looking for another good one. And, again, man, if you have not seen this Komet team play, I recommend it because they're fun to watch.
Yeah, Ethan Keppen is a big name that I've been hearing a lot this season. But, in the past 10 games, the Komets are 7-3. What's been in your mind? You're up there, watching it from a lot closer than I am. What's been going right for the Komets these past 10 games?
It comes down to experience. This team is a lot more experienced than we've had in the years past. We've had, a lot of rookies last year. I think it was the most rookies the Komets have ever had going into a season. So last year was just a learning process for a lot of these guys. But, you got guys like Alex Aliardi, Justin Taylor, and Anthony Petrozelli. All these guys have been mainstays in the league really for close to a decade. So these guys know how to play. These guys know how to get it done. You mentioned Ethan Keppen, who's having a great year. A guy like Jack Gorniak, who was a rookie last year, and I've been singing his praises for 2 years now. And I said this guy's going to be an all-star one day, and he's starting to prove it. And the defense is great. Goaltending has been pretty good with Brett Brochu back there. So it really is the whole package. But really, it comes down to experience. These guys, I think, even when the team has been down a few times this year, there's no panic on this team. They know they're going to come back in the third period. So it's more of the experience and the confidence. That's really been the big difference.
And before we get out of here, I definitely wanted to mention one of my favorite parts about the Komets is your Komets podcast. Go ahead and promote that and your latest episode.
Yeah, the Talkin Podcast, actually, it's taken on a life of its own over the last few years. We've got well over 100 episodes, and this week's episode is with a Komet rookie, Nick Deacon-Poot, who is also impressing. But, no, the podcast is something different. It's something that you don't normally hear, obviously, on the radio. It's something where I sit down with these guys, and a lot of times I don't even like to talk about hockey. I just like to talk about their lives and their journey, and usually a good story and a lot of good laughs usually come out of it. I usually make fun of myself, or we make fun of their roommate, their teammates. You get some really good stories, and it's become quite popular. So, but you can get it at Apple Podcasts. You can get it on Spotify and Komets.com. So please check it out.
That's right. Blackout night, mental health awareness night as well. Pack the Coliseum, puck drop around 7:30. Komets and Wheeling later on tonight. So get those tickets. Shane, thanks so much for coming on this morning. Jim will be back next week.
Anytime, DC.
Thanks so much, Shane. Shane Albahrani for the Fort Wayne Komets joining us here on Talkin Sports this morning. Only a couple minutes left, so I want to get some quick thoughts. I'm still going to be here. I want to know who you got today, because coming up in 2 hours, right at noon, I'm going to be able to kick back and enjoy this game. College football. I know somebody else has college football on their mind. Indiana Hoosiers against Ohio State. Number 5 against number 2. Who you got? 260-447-8500. I'm rolling with the Hoosiers, baby. I'm rolling with the Hoosiers. I think they get it done. I'm sticking with it. A couple weeks ago, I said I thought the Hoosiers could beat Ohio State if they face today. We figure it out. Curtis Rourke is going to have a big day today, as it's a good Ohio State team, obviously. I mean, they're number 2 ranked in the country, but I think we're going to find out they're not quite as good as advertised. I think the Hoosiers going to sneak this one out. It's a magical season down in Bloomington. I got the Hoosiers. 260-447-8500. Another great show in the books. Jim Shovlin will be back next week, unless he has too much of a good time in Florida. We'll have to see. The verdict is still out. But thanks so much for Jim Shovlin for chiming in on the text line, even though he's officiating a wedding. I want to give thanks to Justin Kinney from OutsideTheHuddle.net for joining us this morning. Athletic Director of the University of St. Francis, Mike McCaffrey, and, of course, Mr. Shane Albahrani, the voice of the Fort Wayne Komets. He's here just filling in. Have a great weekend, folks. Enjoy it. We'll be back next week. It's Talkin Sports on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
Podcasts by Federated Media.